allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Okay, thank you, Chris, thank you, Gavin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, consent agenda passes. Welcome, First Page, our new board secretary and superintendent secretary. Welcome.
Thank you.
We do not have student representatives in August, so we will move on to public comment. Anybody wish to give public comment? I know you'll have a pre-approved extra time to wish to speak. Yes. If you stand on the mat, there's a microphone built into the floor.
Oh, fancy.
I just had to ask about that myself.
Oh, that's cool.
That's one of those updates we got. Well,
Good evening. When I started these discussions with this board, I read you the following words. My name is Emily Bjornberg, and I've lived in the town of Lyme for the last 43 years. My children were the fourth generation of my family to graduate from this district. I know it well, and my entire family has invested in it generously. I want you to know that I stand before you on your turf and in compliance with your regulations out of respect. I'm not trying to hurt Old Lyme. In fact, my honesty here tonight is meant to be an act of deep love and respect for the community and for the elected officials that are charged with running our schools. I believe we must do better for the sake of our children. I then told you about my experience in the Lyme-Old Lyme school system as a student in the 1990s, and then I told you about the experiences of my children, which ended in 2024. And then I talked about my own experience at a basketball game in our gym last March. Each of these times, I've come directly to your board, and I played by the rules that were imposed on me, which included breaking my thoughts into clips and returning to meetings. I care about this district. I care about the schools and the children who go here. I have many relatives and friends in this system. I am a proud graduate of Lyme-Old Lyme myself. I have sacred memories that include me wearing the Lyme-Old Lyme royal blue on my chest. And for the record, my desire to make Lyme-Old Lyme an even better place to raise children does not in any way, shape, or form call my loyalty into question. Pushing my hometown to be better is a part of who I am and who Lyme-Old Lyme taught me to be. You don't like my questioning? Talk to the teachers who formed the basis of my worldview. Many of them still work for Region 18 today. You want to call my story into question? Talk to the principal who attended the Lyme-Old Lyme High School when I was there. He serves among you. He and I spent many hours discussing these very same topics 30 years ago. And since I attended that basketball game in March, I've just been asking for one thing, for Lyme-Old Lyme to have a conversation with its students about racism. That was what I asked your superintendent for when I called his office the day after the game. And when he refused, I brought my request straight to the people who were in a position to do something, the Lyme-Old Lyme Board of Education. So I will reiterate my request again to you this evening. Please empower your administrators to discuss race effectively and honestly within Region 18. No one else can make this change. It is solely up to you, the folks who ran for public office under the idea that you could make Region 18 the strongest and best school that it could be. Now, the last time I was here, when I finished speaking, I stepped into the hallway where I heard additional remarks from one of the board members. And I'll admit it was a little bit hard to make out what he was saying, but I garnered 3 basic messages. We've watched dozens of hours of tapes, we did nothing wrong, and she's spewing lies. Now, my friends in Hartford were not even remotely surprised by this reaction. They had told me from the beginning that Lyme-Old Lyme would not be able to hear me, and they told me I was wasting my time. And I had disagreed, of course. I had assured them that Lyme-Old Lyme was a small community that knew me well, and they know that I was not trying to hurt them, but to strengthen them. I had explained that there had been a few people maybe who would shout obscenities my way, but that I was confident that there was enough good people on this board who would genuinely want to do the right thing. I still believe that to be true. I want to make one point before I continue. Your board member said we watched dozens of hours of tape, and since then I've sent a Freedom of Information request to Region 18 for the security videos that he referenced. Your board secretary sent me exactly 23 minutes and 58 seconds of video. It had no sound, none. And yet we apparently feel confident drawing the conclusion that dozens of hours of tapes were watched when we can't actually produce them. And for the record, I don't blame anybody for those kinds of thoughts or comments. I know where that information came from. That same story was told to me months ago, and repeating it doesn't make it true. Along with FOIAing the videos that Old Lyme referenced, I also asked for any district emails that mentioned that basketball game in the month that followed. On March 11th, which was 6 days after that game, Jim Wygonick wrote an email to Ian with a plan for a stand-up meeting. And in bold at the bottom, he had a message to inquisitive town citizens. He said it should be, the district has conducted an intense and thorough investigation and have not been able to corroborate these charges. One of the bullet points Jim has on his plan is, Hildy, Ian, and I reviewed the video footage. There was not video evidence to corroborate these charges. But then below that, in another bullet point, Jim says, what other witnesses and what video? So Jim Wygonick and Ian Advisor declared that a thorough and intensive investigation had taken place and concluded within 6 days of the game, but that's even before Hartford wrapped up its investigation. Nowhere do Ian and Jim explain their decision to wrap it up so quickly with you guys who are on the Board of Education. In fact, it isn't until 10 days later that Ian emailed this board to tell them that Hartford was done. And in that email, Ian reports that Hartford believed there was racial animus at the game without any specific concerns, but he doesn't mention that there was an alarming number of Hartford players and cheerleaders that identified the exact same 4 kids from the Old Lyme fans. Apparently, that was not information that he thought was important enough for you to have. One can pinpoint in those emails exactly where this board started to be fed misinformation and by whom. And the real question then becomes, do we care? Or do the members of this board care? So I've done my job here. I've delivered my story honestly and directly to the people who are in a position to make a change. And now it's up to you to decide the best course of action. I know that this world feels overwhelming right now, but this is a problem that we can both identify and solve. Region 18 has both the ability and the responsibility to talk to its students about racism. If not for the children of Hartford, then please, I am begging you, do it for the children of Old Lyme. Please continue this conversation and please insist that communication be open and often. Please do not allow the final response of this board to be, we watched dozens of hours of tape and we did nothing wrong. Because you guys know better and I know better. And the truth is that your students know better. As I step out of the auditorium this evening, I will hope and pray that my friends on this board will find their voice and lift up a conversation that has desperately needed to take place for the last 30 years. The future students of Region 18 depend on you. Good luck and thank you from the very bottom of my heart for allowing me to address this board over and over again about a community that I care very deeply about. I mean it when I tell you that I love this place and I love the people who are here, and I am not trying to hurt you in any way. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment tonight? Anyone else wish to address public comment? No, and no one on Zoom.
I'd like to understand a few things first, though, before we move on, if we may.
Okay.
So, Ian, the tapes, the 20 some odd minutes, is that all we've had?
I'd have to go back and look and see what was sent relative to the specific FOI request. I believe it was the tape of the, how we have those things that take the games in there. We also did review our security footage to, see if we could see anything. There's not a whole lot of security footage, in the gym per se. And I couldn't tell you the exact number of minutes.
Just a regular game, I believe we do 8-minute quarters. So right there, that's 32 minutes.
Yeah.
So at minimum, it's over 26 minutes.
Right, I didn't time how
Yeah.
long the videos were, but
I mean, timeouts, the games are
Yeah.
hour and change. So I think that's a big difference between 26 and at least an hour for a game. Typically games are, what, an hour and a half at least? So we should have tape for that whole thing, right? Not just the game, the actual playing time.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, kind of, I certainly don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think your point about watching hours of tape, the tape could be 5 minutes. You can still watch it for 5 hours if you're rewinding, looking for things,
Yep.
looking for all that sort of stuff. So yes, I would,
And then,
again, emphasize we did watch hours.
and it's also man hours. It's how many times have you, each individual watched them, who's watched them, each time. You can watch even 26 minutes of tape for hours. And then the statement on the Hartford and the 4 kids that were identified, is that new information? Did we know that the Hartford,
Yep.
that was the Hartford,
Athletic director
Athletic.
sent us a photo of 4 individuals who were not our students, who were at the game, who they identified as their students that identified as calling names. We were able to figure out through our students who 2 of them were. Again, the other 2, none of the 4 were our students.
or students at the high school or in the entire district?
Not students in Lyme-Old Lyme schools,
Currently or past?
ever.
Okay.
Were they identified by where they may go to school?
1 or 2, if I recall. But I would also emphasize that none of the students sitting around them said that they heard any of those students say anything either.
Mhm.
So there was no evidence to support that per se as well.
And, oh, sorry, could I follow up? on
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
Did we talk to their school at all?
We talked to the individual that we believed went to a certain school.
Hmm.
I have to reach back out to the LD to see see where that went. I can't recall if their athletic director or principal interviewed that student, but I know we did make contact with that school.
Okay.
And then, so this is the first time in all these sessions that I've heard an actual ask, and it seems like the ask is that we have this discussion. Did the administrative team have a discussion internally on how we should handle this? And was there discussions with the student population on racism specifically?
We definitely had a discussion internally about, clearly around the investigation. As I've shared with you, we spent a lot of time looking into it, but we, again, could not verify any of these allegations. Hartford could not verify any of these allegations. And we do regularly have discussions with our students about all sorts of things, whether it be racism, whether it be misogyny, whether it be homophobia, whether it be anti-Semitism. We have our second step program that begins as early as kindergarten, where we talk to kids about how to treat others. So this is an ongoing conversation, and the implication that this doesn't happen. I've spent, the entire summer here in the high school. I was sharing with Gagan the other day. You walk the halls of this high school, the walls are covered with anti-racism themes, support for, women, acceptance of everybody. So to imply that we don't do anything about this is simply way off base. But no, we did not have a specific conversation with the students based on allegations that we could not prove.
And our policy on bullying and harassment, we're very clear on who to communicate those 2 things, or any of those type of things too, correct? So our students, if they see bullying, if they see racism,
Absolutely.
see something, say something that's in our policies, that we have anonymous reporting, there's a ton in the policy about how to handle it and who to go to, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and all of our kids review that policy on a yearly basis. It's a requirement to sign off that they've read it, correct?
They don't sign off. It is a requirement that they read it.
An email goes out to them and says refresh the policy, or how does that work?
It's their and their parents' obligations. It's posted on our website to know the policies, but we're very clear,
Yep.
especially at the high school, we meet with classes, we go over all those sorts of things, because yes, bullying and harassment and that sort of stuff does happen. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it doesn't, but we certainly address it when it does happen. So
Yep.
kids are well aware of how to handle that.
Absolutely. And then kind of final, I guess, question, have we changed anything we do because of the situation? Have we looked at things differently? Have we changed policies? Have we changed anything based off of this situation?
I wouldn't categorize it as change based on this situation. I would say in general, we are always looking for ways to present other viewpoints to our students, because we do live in a very, close community that doesn't have a whole lot of racial diversity, doesn't have a whole lot of economic diversity. And we do try to make sure that our students are best prepared for when they step out into the real world, where things are a lot different than they are in Lyme-Old Lyme. So we are always looking for ways to expand our students' knowledge and horizons and understanding of others outside of their own community.
Can you illustrate if somebody were feeling bullied or harassed or targeted today at school, what would be the process that they should go through, and what would be the process that Region 18 would go through?
So we actually just adopted a brand new school climate policy per the state, which went into effect July 1st. So
For the record, I was not prompted to ask this question.
That is all on our website. As I said, that's effective July 1st, but essentially in short, if a student feels that they're being bullied or harassed, I would recommend they go to an adult, a teacher, a counselor, a principal, whatever. It doesn't matter the role, but they need to let an adult know as soon as possible. There's also a form on the website that people can complete. That seems a little bit, bureaucratic, but certainly we would ask, even if someone came to us, that they complete that form, or we would help them complete it. And then we do an investigation to make a determination of whether or not bullying has occurred. And depending on what the outcome of that investigation is, would determine what happens next. If it's someone is being harassed or bullied, we might take certain actions with the student. It's really grade level dependent. It's dependent on the details of the situation, if it's happening here, if it's happening outside of school. I would say that most of what we deal with starts outside of school on social media or via cell phones. And that comes into the building because that's where, the kids talk about it and we hear about it. So I'm not going to say it's not happening here, but the majority of what gets reported to us is something that's happened outside of school and is brought to school from an outside occurrence.
Would it be possible for a counselor or someone to put together a short PowerPoint that would be played in all homerooms or your extended homerooms during those first days of school, where they review the new policy and just have a conversation? You can have, extend homeroom for 15 minutes. You have small homerooms. These teachers that work for these children, they stay in the same homeroom for 4 years. Freshmen are just starting out, but have a conversation and say, continue it throughout the year, but open up those lines of communication and say, this is what we want you to do, and these are things you shouldn't do.
Yeah, so we do that already, not necessarily in context of the new bullying policy. We have the high school 101. We meet with all the classes at the beginning of the year, specifically at the high school, and this sort of stuff happens obviously in a different manner at the elementary and the middle schools, through second step, through the advisory in the homerooms at the middle school, in Patty Canoyer's health classes. So we try to hit it from all different angles, but we can certainly incorporate the new policy into that as well this year. It's not drastically different than it was in the past. It's just consistent. The reason the state pushed it is now it's consistent in every single district in the entire state. They all have the exact same policy.
So I'll just say, as a former teacher, bloodborne pathogens doesn't change, but I had to do it every year.
Yeah.
And I think that
You know
this is
everything about
important
it,
enough
right?
that if we want to have
Yeah.
good citizens in this town, that it wouldn't hurt us to spend 10 to 15 minutes
Oh, no,
with each.
we do
And
it
they
every
do
year.
seem
Yeah.
to speak more if they're in a smaller form
Yeah.
than having a large group.
No, we do it every year. It's not just waiting till the high school.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have one question for Emily. Emily, when you were at that event, why didn't you go to administrator or anyone else from Region 18 when you saw what you said you were seeing?
I think in real time, I was honestly shocked. And I felt really disempowered, if I'm being honest. If, looking back on it, I think there are a number of ways in which I could have improved my reaction to that night. And I will put those lessons into practice moving forward. I wish that I had been able to find the right person and get the help that I really wanted.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah, just one thing. Thank you, Ian, for clarifying that the students that were purported to have acted in this manner were not ours. That information wasn't clear to me, and I appreciate knowing it. It doesn't make me feel any more comfortable about the potential that did occur, but it certainly is heartening to know it wasn't ours.
So, tonight, we will move on then to administrative reports, the superintendent's reports.
Okay, just a couple of things I want to first address. I know there's been some questions out there about whether or not we'll be able to open school on time, especially if you drive by Mile Creek and you see that they have not paved the new parking lot or entranceway yet. But I want to assure everybody that, as Susan can attest to and Ron can attest to, we ask this question every single week at the owners' meeting. We had our owners' meeting again today, and they assured us that all schools will be ready to open on time. So I know that might be disappointing news for some people who are listening or watching this, but we do plan on opening on time. A letter will go out to parents tomorrow, notifying everybody, just so in case someone thinks, well, we're going to have an extra week off or whatever it may be. I don't expect that to change by any means. And at this point, it's almost too late in the game for them to make that change. And we've made that clear to them. We do have an alternative plan in place should that be necessary. I'd rather not go into it right now because I don't want people to misconstrue that that's actually going to happen. But just rest assured that we have prepared an alternative plan that does not include adding schools days at the end of school. Or taking away anybody's February or April vacation. But like I said, I really don't want to go there because I don't want people to think that that's actually going to happen because there's almost no chance that it will. And I know Susan will talk later about the projects, but as you can imagine, that has been quite busy. We've made a lot of progress. There's been a few hiccups along the way, but we've been able to find ways around those. And hopefully within the next few weeks, you will see everything wrap up. And I don't want to give the impression that when everyone comes back to school, the buildings will be complete, because they won't. That was never the intention or the plan. If you recall, the HVAC schools need to be complete by the end of this calendar year, so December 31st, 2025. And we are on track to have them complete. But again, when we walk into school on August 27th, there will still be ceiling tiles down, there will still be ductwork going on. They will go back to working at night at the HVAC schools. Mile Creek, they made significant progress, as you've seen if you've driven by, and anybody who's had a chance to look out back. The addition is structurally complete. The finishes are not complete, but there's a roof on it, there's walls up. They haven't put the windows in, but the building committee was able to take a tour of that this summer. And same thing with Mile Creek. That is not supposed to be done by December 31st of 2025. That won't be done until well into next school year. Because that's obviously much more involved, but we are moving forward with that. And as I said, that school too, along with the others, will be ready to go for the opening of the school. But it has been actually very good being over here all summer. We had Park and Rec and summer school and every single administrative office here except for the Lyme School all summer long. It was a packed house here. I think we always had almost as many kids as we do in a normal school day. And it worked out great. It was pretty convenient for meetings and questions and, lots of people, able to interact. We saw lots of our students all summer long. And that all just ended last week, Park and Rec and summer school. So we will be moving back, hopefully the week of August, I think it's the 18th is a Monday, 18th or 19th. And we hope to be back in the buildings by August 21st. Teachers come back August 22nd, and we have 3 days of professional development before the students come back. So far, it's moving along well. So speaking of August 25th, just a reminder, I think Paige had contacted each of you, our retreat. Thank you to Susan. She's going to be hosting at her house for our retreat this summer where we do our goal development. That is August 25th. I will send out a calendar invite just so everybody has that on their calendar, 6 o'clock. And we'll have an opportunity to have a good discussion that evening. One interesting note that's going to be in my letter out to parents tomorrow that I will make sure you have a copy. We're going to be doing something a little bit unusual this year. If you recall, during the budget process, I had shared with you that the people who do our numbers for us believed we would have, I think it was like 80-something kindergartners, and we didn't believe that. We thought it was going to be closer to 60. Well, it's actually a little bit lower than that. We're just about pushing 50 kindergartners. So, but what has happened because of this change in the law, we have a huge number of pre-K students. So when looking at the number, which makes sense, right? Because all those kids didn't turn 5, the parents held them back, so now they're all coming in pre-K. The other thing that's causing our pre-K numbers to go up is when the state changed the law, they changed it at the front end, but they didn't change it at the back end. So they required that kids be older to enter kindergarten, but birth to 3 stayed the same. So kids are still starting with us the day they turn 3 years old, which for some students, I'm sure plenty of you have kids who were born in the spring. So you start in April as a 3-year-old, you're not going to 4-year-old pre-K the next year. You're going back for a second year in 3-year-old pre-K. So we've actually had to add I think I mentioned this in the spring, another section of 3-year-old pre-K. It's only a half-day program, so it's really half a section of pre-K. And we're going to have to, because of our low numbers in kindergarten, but our high numbers in pre-K 4, we're going to move one of the kindergarten teachers to pre-K. But that class is going to take place at Lyme School. Everybody follow that whole trail? Mm-hmm. Only temporarily. The reason it's taking place at Lyme School really the main driver was our specials teachers. Remember our many discussions about specials teachers last spring and what they do. So if we did not have that kindergarten class there and brought it down to center school, that would have made a disaster of all that work we just did. We would have people coming down from Lyme. It would not have worked. We wouldn't have been able to run the schedules that we have in place. So it worked out that one of our kindergarten teachers up there, Ms. Kroll, is also certified as a pre-K teacher. We've already talked to M&J, and we don't bus kids to pre-K anyway unless they're identified as special education students. So those students that are identified will be bused up there, and we're also putting all the kids in that section that will go to kindergarten in Lyme. So it's not going to be like they're going to a new school. I want to emphasize that's only for 1 year, because next year we got to go back to, we'll have a big kindergarten because all those 4-year-olds are coming up. And I expect that will only be that 1-year bubble. It's going to be a kind of a unique bubble because we're going to have one section at Lyme, which we've never had, we haven't had in a long time. And that's just going to continue up unless that class grows. It's going to stay as one section for, over, running that because, Noah's not going to go from the middle school to the center school and then up the line. And also we'll have one less section. And Tess already works in the building, Tess Kroll. So I think it'll all work out. And we are, as I said, that letter will go out to parents tomorrow. And then come Friday, we are putting a letter out to all the elementary parents, including the pre-K parents, about class assignments. So they'll know where they're going.
So the 26-27 kindergarten year, so I guess the pre-K that's not moving up, what's that class size? Is it our typical like 70-ish or?
Yeah, 73 right now.
Gotcha. So it's it's a bump from where this class is, but it's back to normal, even
Yeah,
less
back-
than
yeah.
normal.
Nah, that's usually where we start. These classes tend to grow over time.
Oh, that's right. Not everyone does the pre-K, but then you
Right.
get a
Right, you get about
10,
12,
15%
yeah,
bump
Yeah, yeah.
going into
So
10.
that's a little bit higher than normal. Last
But not like dramatically high. It's not 100.
No, no,
Okay.
no.
So we're still
And
relatively low coming up.
What's that?
We're still relatively low from the 100 to 115 class sizes that we used to have.
Well, not necessarily, because remember that.
That grows over
when
time.
when we get to the high school, usually it gets a lot going into the middle school. Usually they're starting around that. So it's about normal, I would say. The
Okay.
difference though, Chris, is if we kept the 4 classes of pre-K, we would have had 18 and 19 students in each section, and we would have had like 10 in the kindergarten classes. So that didn't make any sense to us. There would have been a complete imbalance. So this way we're going to end up with about 15 roughly in each kindergarten and about 15, maybe even less in each one of the pre-K classes. Makes much more sense in terms of, balancing class sizes.
Nope, makes sense.
And when you say having them at Lyme School made sense for the specials, you're talking about things like art, music.
PE.
So because
library.
those teachers spend time at Lyme and split their time with the
Yep.
other places, yeah.
Yep. And we already have some of them working in other buildings, and it would have just been a disaster.
Yeah, trying to get them to commute to 3 or 4
Yeah.
places is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in one day, I know.
Or you're reducing all, which doesn't make sense.
No. Understood. Thank you.
And just one other thing, and I don't want to steal Jim's thunder by any means, because he will be presenting this to you in September or October, but we did get our scores back for the SATs and the AP. AP, we had a 94% pass rate. So 94% of the test takers got a 3 or better. And in many cases, and I don't have this number right with me today, but in many cases, we got 4s and 5s, or an average of 4 in a number of classes, which is pretty incredible. And we also got our SAT results back. I don't know how they stack up compared to other districts. As you recall, in the past, they've been in the top 10 in the state. The English scores this year, I'm not sure about the math ones, but the English scores were even better than they've been in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're, even closer to the top this year. So that's all very good news, which again will be reported out in October when we do those presentations.
How is it that you did not just steal Jim's thunder?
Well, he'll go into the details.
He'll give you the really good news.
That sounds like tremendous news.
Yeah, that is good. Could use.
And the personnel report, sorry. We have a number of changes since we last met. As you can imagine, this is kind of the time of the year, and a lot of this is from the spring, the time of year where we hire people and, to fill resignations, retirements, etc. So I won't go through all of these, but as you remember, we did include a part-time secretary position in Mile Creek. Melanie Lee, who many of you probably know, is a former PTO chair and also one of our best secretary subs. Of course, now we have no secretary subs. We'll be taking that position in Mile Creek. Frankie Donato, one of our former graduates, whose sister actually teaches for us, will be taking that part-time pre-K teacher position. Thomas Badamarco is coming to us from Fairfield County as a science teacher. I think it's Wilton High School he's coming from. Nicole Beckwith will be taking over for Paige at Mile Creek. She's familiar with the school. She also has a child who goes there. Kathy Pergamo, we hired as an instructional assistant. Aaron Breitenbach, we hired out of Fairfield University master's program as a 4th grade teacher. Tom Bushnell, you all met, as our new assistant principal at the high school. Kristen Ferrano is our new school nurse supervisor. She is moving here from California. She and her kids just moved here from California, so that'll be a bit of a change for her. Ariana Spirin as our new 4th grade teacher out of the Yukon program. And Jane Capucciati, I believe is how you pronounce that last name. She's going to be a long-term sub at the high school for maternity leave. Tatum Lukowski if you recall, we had a part-time special ed position at the middle school and the middle school and Mile Creek combined. She comes to us from Groton, I think it is. Highly recommended by a number of our employees who worked with her in the past, and then a number of IAs for various positions. We are still looking for instructional assistants. We are looking for a payroll clerk. Unfortunately, our payroll clerk is no longer working here. And Dawn Kalani retired over the summer at the high school, so we are in the process of interviewing for that position, for the secretary position here. What else is on here? Mary Beth Schreindorfer, after 40-something, maybe even 50 years, finally retired as an instructional assistant. We did offer her a part-time job, which she was actually interested in, but then she decided she wasn't going to do that anymore. And a couple other designations at the end of the year. Any questions on that? Okay. I guess I'm calling tonight too. I was on vacation this week, so nothing too exciting to report with the executive budget summary. If you remember, this is the month where sometimes things look a little wacky. Take, for example, like administrative services. You might say, well, why did we spend 35.6% this year and we only spent 12.9% last year? These include encumbrances. So what we've done, if you remember, Christine was new last year, around Secretary Christine. She did not encumber all the contracts. You know, our mowing contract, our mechanical contract, all this sort of stuff in the first year. Now she is doing that right out of the gate, which is our normal process. So that's the only reason that some of these look a little different. You can see the overall spend is slightly up, but that's not because of any additional costs. That's just because of the timing of invoices. So really nothing exciting to report there.
Do we have the final 24-25?
No, we'll have that in
Budget
October.
October after the audit?
After the audit.
Okay.
Are you looking for?
Well, just because we don't meet in July, so that's when we would have seen the closeout of the fiscal year. Right?
Well, technically, the closeout isn't done until the audit's done, but I can get you.
I just want to see where we ended up
Yeah.
altogether.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's less than 100%, I can tell you that.
So it's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I can get that for you.
And the special ed, I would imagine some of that is outplacements that are front loaded.
Hold on one second, Susan.
Yeah.
Yes, that's actually, some of that too is a cost for a summer program as well.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
And no contingencies.
Did we have any in July?
No, it's zero.
No, zero.
Oh, then
You
June.
mean June?
June, yeah, sorry.
No. We don't have any, did you? I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So we finished like 150
Yeah.
positive on that. Okay.
Maybe it was 130.
Hmm.
Oh, you're rounding way up.
Let's give Ron more credit than he deserves.
Yeah, that's the idea.
All right, thank you. So moving on, there wasn't a board meeting last month, there also weren't any committee meetings other than the building committee, and Ian stole Lily or thunder, but Susan, would you like to add anything?
No, I'm glad he did. There's a lot. As Ian indicated, there's a huge amount of activity in all four of the schools. The most visible, obviously, is at Mile Creek. But a lot of the work at the other buildings is internal because they're installing HVAC systems, a lot of it above the ceiling line. Sometimes they're in the basements, sometimes they're in the boiler rooms. So it's not as visible, but it's going on at all four schools. The Mile Creek site, a lot is happening in August. They were supposed to, interestingly, in my report to the board, which is included in your board book, they had intended to start paving the binder course on the bus loop side of Mile Creek today. when they were completing backfilling the new drainage system, they found some rock they weren't planning on. And today, while we were at the owners' meeting outside, we heard the rock removal going on. The paving is now rescheduled for Monday, the 11th. Weather looks good, that's promising. And as I said in my report to you, what the public will see is that the bus loop for this coming year will be, or rather the parent drop-off loop will be as it has existed in the past. The bus loop will be done and paved with the binder course only. So what they're going to do is put down that first coating of paving. They're going to line it for parking and do all the marking that needs to be done, the signage. When they finish the other portion of the parking lot next summer, then they will pave the entire thing with the final coat. At Mile Creek, the new generator is on site. The new water heater is going to be installed next week. New fuel pump in the boiler room. As Ian said, the Mile Creek addition is now, the exterior is watertight and they're ready to commence interior work. The fire marshal has been involved and building officials in both towns because there are ongoing inspections that have to happen. And in particular, when we come to the point now where we're about to reopen school, the fire marshal and the building inspectors are going to meet with our construction firm Friday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to make a punch list of what has to be accomplished so we can reopen, so that everybody's clear as what has to be done in the time allotted. And the construction company, for their own selfish reasons, is anxious to get on with that and get us back in because they made a commitment to do it and they're doing their level best to make it happen.
Are there any financial reasons for them to hit those dates?
Well, no, I think for them, from a completely business perspective, is they don't want this project dragging out any longer than it has to because they want to move on to the next.
But we don't tie any payments to them hitting their dates.
The payments, including reimbursements from the state, happen on a monthly basis. So Ian could probably explain that a little better.
You can get, if we could prove, you can get liquidated damages. So sometimes you read in the paper about projects that have gone awry and they take extra time and they're able to penalize it. So we could get liquidated damages, but you have to prove what damage did you incur. Simply, not having school start in time, how did that cost you money? Well, we'd have to come up with some reason. Versus, if we had to run our buses double runs to make up for moving, then we could say, well, that cost us extra. That will be a liquidated damage we could get.
And that comes from Downs?
If we sue them for that, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. But there's nothing in their contract that says, no performance incentive.
No. Well, the only thing that's in their contract is finishing the HVAC schools by December 31st, 2025.
Right, because then we don't get the state money.
We have to.
And that's a financial incentive?
Well, then we could claim liquidated damages because we'd lose $12 million in grant money. So I think we did a pretty good argument there, right?
But we'd have to sue them still for that if they didn't hit. Okay. Yeah, I just seeing if we have any ways to pressure them.
But they don't. I don't know.
They don't want to be here a long time. Trust me.
Yeah, they don't want it. No, they don't want. They want to get it done.
It hurts them. They're spending money, being here, and if it just continues to extend, they're losing out too. They want to move on to the next job and make more money. They have their own internal motivation to do that.
Yeah, and they also don't want to be in a position to not complete something as large as this because that's a damage to their reputation.
Right. I was going to say that's the other thing too. They're bidding on a lot of school projects, and people call it's a small state, and they don't want their name to be connected with the project that's going awry.
Yeah. They seem very motivated. Let's put it that way. Not just for the money, but to get to meet their commitment.
Yeah.
That is my impression. When you've probably seen in front of center school, you'll see in front of the middle school, the vestibule work. There's temporary doors up now. We're to the point with Mild Creek's Festival, for instance, where they're talking about putting in flooring in the main office and really restoring those areas for the return of students and staff. So that's very positive. And there, as Ian said, there's no way I will tell you there haven't been glitches along the way, but they have stepped up and worked. If an email goes out and says we have a problem, a contractor identifies something that maybe wasn't in the as-built drawing, there's not enough space for X, and they immediately get together, the engineers, the architects, the construction firm, and they find a solution, and they do it very quickly because they know that these summer months are critical to get that work done. So Ian and Ron, Brian Dow, and I, and Alan Shinus have continued to attend every owners meeting to make it clear to them that we have eyes on, and we are very aware of our bottom line. And I thank you.
We thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, so
Great. Ron, I need to say, I should say this, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ian, Ron, and Brian have worked tirelessly this summer to make sure that every little thing that's been a problem has been resolved from their perspective. They're constantly on site. They meet with all the folks that are doing the construction so that they know what has to be done. Simple things like making sure there is as much parking available for the town fireworks as they could manage. So those are the types of things that we make them aware of and they respond to. So but kudos go to the administration and the team for that. They deserve a lot of credit. I know they're working a lot of time on this, so thank you. Sorry to.
no. Oh, thanks, Susan. All right, so moving to new business, we have a tuition student request for 12th grade.
Yes, can I just say one thing about
Oh,
meetings first? We will start our committee meetings in September, following the same schedule. So Ron will put out the schedule for the Facilities and Finance Committee meeting, and Paige will put out the schedule for the Policy Committee meeting. If you recall, we are working on a undesignated fund policy. I've met with Holly and I met with Alan this summer and talked about some stuff. I'm actually meeting with him tomorrow to put together a spreadsheet that will help us get through that. And then I'm working on some of the language. So I would like to be able to start talking about that in more depth in September. And we have a couple of other policies that we'll need to adopt coming up.
Do we have an Old Lyme representative on that
Old Lyme representative on.
for building that policy? I know Alan is great, but he
I was
represents
just
Lyme.
using
and
him as a resource. That's not a committee. He just offered to help.
Policy committee will.
Yeah, the policy committee will do that. So yeah, we have
Okay.
plenty of reps on that.
She's getting a draft
Yeah.
together.
And actually, while we're on that, I've had trouble making it to every Lyme-Old Lyme Prevention Coalition meeting, and it is good to have board representation. So there's only 5 of us here today. But if anybody is interested in trying to attend more than I can of the Lyme-Old Lyme Prevention Coalition meetings, let me know. I can get you set up because they're monthly meetings, not really on a regular schedule, which day of the month though. But
When and where? I mean, I know you just
Zoom.
said.
Oh, they are Zoom.
Ah.
Yeah, that helps. The wind, as I said, isn't as reliable, but tends to be early in the month. But yeah, it's really good to have some board representation on that, so you can report back to the whole board on kind of the progress that they're doing and how they're involved with our schools. All right. Now we're done with committee. All right, we'll move on to the tuition student request for 12th grade.
Yes. So since I know Chris's regular questions, yes, we have space. It's a high school. We have plenty of space. And they will replace. We actually did have a couple of tuition students in the pre-K program who aren't coming back next year, simply just because they're going to home schools. Two of them were staff member students, and the third was from East Lyme. So it actually, our numbers will be, I think, down by 2 students overall in terms of tuition students, but I would recommend obviously enrolling this student as well. And did I tell you, we do have one coming from Switzerland?
He was able to get his
was
visa.
able to get
Yeah, she was finally, yes.
Okay.
And that's 11th grade, right? Or did we settle on that placement?
No, it's just gonna be 12th grade, but we also have a couple of students coming here on J1 visas, which are not paid, you don't have to pay tuition under J1 visa, they're exchange programs. So some student in the United States is going over there, doesn't necessarily mean they're from here. And I believe one of those students is from France, I don't know where the other one is from, but, so that's good, that'll be, it's always good to have them at the high school level to bring, again, some cultural experiences to not only the students coming, but also to our students as well.
And they're placed in homes in Old
Yep.
The placements.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the tuition request as presented by the superintendent.
I'll second.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Martha. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that passes.
No question on that. Just the J1.
Yes,
How do we get compensated for receiving those students?
we don't, so you can't charge for a J1 student, that's federal law, you have to charge for an F1 student.
Mhm.
So the F1 students that we've had, all of ours up until this year have been from China, was the first year we were from Switzerland as an F1 student. The J1 students, they're treated just like any other resident because they come and they live here with the family. So the family comes and enrolls them. They don't even have to tell us. They can walk into school one day and say, hey, I'm enrolling this kid right here in a J1.
So they're living with a family on Lyme, therefore they have the right to
School.
Gotcha. Okay.
But F1 students are also living with families, aren't they?
Correct, but here's the difference. So if you're a student and you're saying, and this is the exact situation for the student from Switzerland, because I talked to her dad about this. When you say, do I want to apply for a J1 visa or an F1 visa? If I apply for a J1 visa, you go through a program and they could put you anywhere. They could put you in the middle of Oklahoma,
Right.
or they could put you in Maine or Florida. You have no choice.
All due respect to Oklahoma.
Absolutely, I'm just saying, there's different parts of the country.
Mhm.
But if you come as an F1 student, you say, I want to go to
You
this
choose
school,
where. Got it.
and that's where I want to go. So that's the big difference.
Hmm.
A lot of the private schools, and this is the weird part, I don't understand why this is different. F1 students can only come to public schools in the US for 1 year, but they can go to private schools for 4 years. So in fact, the CIAC just changed their bylaws this summer, saying that F1 students cannot participate in sports. And I believe the reason is, I haven't talked to anybody at the CIAC yet, but my gut feeling is some of the, the NFAs and Woodstock Academy and and Xavier and all these other schools that are in the CIAC but are not public schools are bringing in F1 students. And there's the potential, I haven't heard of any, but the potential if you're bringing in, the next superstar from another country and they stay, they turn your program around and some booster pays their F1 fees.
Right.
It's happening at the college level, so why wouldn't it happen at the high school?
Yeah.
And I am.
And the F1 tuition rate is higher than the typical tuition rate, right?
For us, yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
All right. That already passed. So moving on, we do have an increase in lunch prices.
Yes, so if you recall, we did this last August. We are requesting another increase in lunch prices. And the way we go about this isn't just we randomly say, let's increase lunch prices. Because we're a member of the we participate in the National School Lunch Program, we're required on an annual basis to review our paid lunch prices by completing this USDA paid lunch equity tool. And what it does is it looks at the average paid lunch price, and it does this whole evaluation of where your lunch prices should be. So currently, if you look down at that chart at the bottom on the sheet that's in front of you, our current elementary school prices are $3.25. They would go to $3.40. Our middle school prices are $3.75, as are the high school, and those will both go to $3.90. putting our weighted average at 3.59, or was 3.59, will be going to 3.74. If you read the paragraph right above that, technically our recommended required average should be $4.01. But because right now our lunch program is self-sustaining, we do not need to move up to that 4.01. But as soon as it doesn't become self-sustaining, then we do have to adjust our lunch prices even higher if we continue to participate in the National School Lunch Program. Which, by the way, remember, we get 10 cents reimbursement per meal by being part of that. So there is an incentive to be part of that. So again, yes, it's an increase. Yes, we did it last year, but I would challenge you to find somewhere where you can get a meal for that price, that amount of food, and the convenience of the kids buying it right at school. So $3.40 for a lunch. I'm not sure you could even pack a lunch for that price these days.
Can I ask, what's the percentage of students that are on free or reduced lunch?
I think it's around 6%, but I'd have to look that up to give you the exact answer.
Okay, and do we have any students whose accounts with lunch fees at the end of the year are still unpaid?
Yeah, not as many as we used to, but yes, we do have some. We actually got a donation from a family to help pay some of those off. But yes, there are still some that are outstanding.
And there was a relevant policy last year that we
Yeah, you
did,
can
that there's no longer a substitute lunch if you're
Right.
on your balance, you get the real,
Right.
regular
No
lunch.
deal.
Yeah, there's no penalties.
All right, is there a motion to approve it?
Yes. Martha, it's your turn. You make the
I'll
motion.
make a motion to increase the light lunch prices as noted.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Martha. Thank you, Susan.
For-
Any further discussion? Yes,
For
please.
historical context, does it basically go up every year by a few cents or a few nickels?
Not every year, but every couple of years, yeah, it goes up, between 10 cents, 25 cents maybe. I don't think we've ever gone more than a 25-cent jump in a year.
Mm-hmm.
But again, go to Starbucks, McDonald's, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
Prices.
I mean,
there are-
without a doubt.
yeah.
Go to any supermarket and you know what's
Yeah.
going on.
As you know, the food and labor costs have gone up.
And can you illustrate a little bit or specify the fact that our lunch program is self-sustaining means that we cover our own costs just by those who are paying for it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Because otherwise, what was it? What the comment about normally it would be, we would project it to be 401, or is 401 the state average? What did you mean
No,
by
so
that?
if you look at so there's this whole, the Chartwells does this for us. They punch all the data into this tool
Mhm.
that the USDA has. So if you look at that sentence above where it says below are current and proposed paid lunch prices.
Yeah.
Proposed for next year is a 15-cent increase on lunch prices. It brings the weighted average to 3.74, still below the recommended / required $4.01. That's what we should be if we weren't self-sustaining,
According to whom?
the USDA.
Got
Yes.
it. Okay.
In order to get our federal reimbursement.
I see. Thank you. Okay.
We're gonna have to stock up on dimes though. $3.40.
And $3.90 for that middle and high school. All right, is there any further discussion or question? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. There's no old business. Can I have a motion to move into executive session regarding pending legal claims?
So moved.
Second.
Should
Okay,
we
thank-
invite the
And invite the superintendent, yes, thank you.
I'll amend the agenda, a motion to include Ian.
And Chris is still seconding?
Sure.
Okay,
Fine.
thank you, Martha, thank you, Chris. And with that, we move into executive session. Thank you, everyone in attendance.
Thank you.
Any further public comment?